The bell tower was freezing at midnight. Elara's fingers were numb as she scrubbed the bronze bells, her breath misting in the air, her thin servant's dress doing nothing against the late autumn wind. Below her, the pack house blazed with light and music. Alpha Cashin's coronation anniversary, 25 years of his rule, 25 years of prosperity and strength for the Nightshade Pack, 25 years since the cursed princess disappeared. Elara had heard the story her entire life. How the true heir to the Nightshade throne had been born under a blood moon with a curse mark on her skin. How she'd brought plague and death to the pack within days of her birth. How she'd killed her own mother with the first cry from her lungs. How Alpha Cashin, the Luna's brother, had taken the throne to save the pack from the cursed bloodline. Everyone knew the story. It was pack history, a tragedy that had become legend. What they didn't know was that Elara had the same birthmark. A silver crescent moon on her left shoulder blade. She kept it hidden under layers of clothing, terrified of what would happen if anyone saw. Terrified they'd realize she carried the same curse as the lost princess. Still working? A voice made her jump. Marcus, one of the younger pack warriors, leaned against the tower entrance. He was handsome in a rough way, and he'd always been kind to her. The celebration's winding down. You should rest. I need to finish. Elara kept her eyes down. Servants didn't look warriors in the eye. Luna Cassandra wants everything perfect for tomorrow's ceremony. Luna Cassandra wants everyone to remember she's in charge. Marcus moved closer, and Elara caught his scent pine and leather. You've been working 16-hour days all week. You're going to collapse. I'm fine. You're exhausted. He reached out like he might touch her arm, then thought better of it. Pack warriors didn't fraternize with servants, especially not servants like Elara, who had no family, no history, no wolf. At least let me walk you back to your quarters when you're done. It's not safe for you to be alone this late. I've been walking alone for 25 years. I think I can manage one more night. Marcus looked like he wanted to argue, but footsteps on the stairs made them both turn. Elder Mira appeared, her ancient face twisted in displeasure. Marcus, you're needed at the main gate. There's been an arrival. Her eyes flicked to Elara with barely concealed disgust. And you finish your work and get out of sight. The Alpha King is coming to pay respects tomorrow. We can't have servants cluttering up the grounds. Elara's stomach dropped. The Alpha King? From the capital? Is there another? Mira's voice was sharp. Alpha King Dax himself. He and Alpha Cashin trained together in their youth. Now move, both of you. Marcus left with one last concerned glance at Elara. Mira lingered, her gaze assessing in a way that made Elara's skin crawl. How old are you now? Mira asked suddenly. 25, elder, 25. Mira repeated it slowly, like she was tasting the words. The same age the cursed princess would have been. Interesting. Elara's blood ran cold. I'm not, of course not. Mira smiled, and it didn't reach her eyes. The cursed princess died the night she disappeared. Everyone knows that. Just like everyone knows you appeared in our orphanage the very same night. A newborn with no history, no family, no explanation. She moved closer. Just a coincidence, I'm sure. Please, Elara's voice came out strangled. I'm just a servant. I don't want any trouble. Then keep your head down and your mouth shut. Mira's hand shot out, gripping Elara's shoulder right where the birthmark sat. Elara gasped as pain lanced through her, sharp and burning. Some curses run deeper than we think. Some bloodlines should stay buried. Remember that. She left, and Elara collapsed against the bell, her shoulder throbbing. When she pulled down her dress to check, the birthmark was glowing, faint silver light pulsing in time with her heartbeat. That had never happened before. Elara barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Mira's face, heard her words. The same age the cursed princess would have been. A newborn with no history. Some bloodlines should stay buried. By the time dawn broke, Elara had made a decision. She needed to know. Needed to understand what the elders were hiding. Needed to find out if the thoughts that had been whispering in the back of her mind for years, the impossible, ridiculous thoughts might actually be true. The pack archives were in the basement of the Elders' Hall, behind a door that was always locked. But Elara had been cleaning that hall for 15 years. She knew which elder left their key ring hanging in their office, knew which guards changed shifts when, knew how to be invisible in plain sight. Getting into the archives was easier than it should have been. The door opened with barely a creak, revealing shelves of scrolls and ledgers stretching back centuries. Elara pulled out the records from 25 years ago and began to read. Birth records, death records, territory disputes, pack finances, everything meticulously documented, everything except what she was looking for. There was no record of the cursed princess's death, no burial, no ceremony, just a single line in Alpha Cashin's ascension decree. The true heir having perished from the curse, I claim leadership to preserve the pack, but if she'd perished, where was the body? Where was the funeral? Where was any evidence that she'd actually died? Elara kept searching, found records of the orphanage intake from that same week. Most entries were detailed parents' names, circumstances of orphaning, pack lineage. But one entry was different. Female infant, age, newborn, origin, unknown, distinguishing marks, crescent moon birthmark, left shoulder blade. Notes: keep separate from other children. Special dietary requirements. Monitor closely. The scroll fell from Elara's hands. I was hoping you'd figure it out eventually. Elder Mira's voice came from the doorway. Elara spun to find not just Mira, but all 5 pack elders standing there. Though I admit, I thought it would happen years ago. You're remarkably slow for someone of royal blood. I don't understand. Elara backed against the shelves. I'm not the princess died, the princess was cursed. Elder Thomas stepped forward. Born under a blood moon with power that could have destroyed us all. Her mother died in childbirth because the baby's magic was too strong, uncontrolled, dangerous. So we made a choice. Elder Mira's expression was cold. We told the pack she died. We gave her to the orphanage under a false identity. And we cursed her ourselves. The words didn't make sense. Couldn't make sense. You curse me. Why would you? Because you were going to destroy everything. Elder Sarah's voice cracked. You were too powerful. Your magic was tearing the pack apart from the inside. Cashin was a grown man, trained and ready to lead. You were an infant with uncontrollable power. The choice was obvious. You stole my throne. The realization hit like a physical blow. You cursed me, suppressed my power, raised me as a servant so I'd never know who I really was. We saved the pack, Elder Marcus said flatly. And we'd do it again. Your bloodline was too dangerous, too volatile. Cashin has brought stability, prosperity, everything your parents' rule lacked. Elara felt something building inside her chest. Something vast and terrible and wrong. The birthmark on her shoulder was burning now, the silver light bleeding through her dress. What did you do to me? She whispered. What curse did you use? A binding curse. Mira pulled out a small wooden box from her robes. Inside was a lock of pale blonde hair, baby hair, and a piece of parchment covered in blood runes. We took your hair and blood the night you were born, bound your power to this talisman. As long as it exists, you're nothing, powerless, human, but the curse is degrading. Elder Sarah looked almost sympathetic. We've renewed it every year on your birthday, but each renewal is harder. The magic is fighting back. Your true power is trying to break through. She gestured to Elara's glowing birthmark. That's why we need to act now. Before you become what you were meant to be, what are you going to do? Elara's voice was steady despite her terror. The Alpha King arrives today. Mira smiled. There will be ceremonies, celebrations, crowds, and unfortunately, a terrible accident. The cursed servant girl who fell from the bell tower. A tragedy. But these things happen. They were going to kill her. Actually kill her. Not just suppress her power but end her life entirely. You can't. Elara looked at each elder in turn. The pack law's murder of pack members. You're not a pack member. Elder Thomas's voice was cold. You are a servant with no lineage, no family. No one will miss you. No one will question it. I will. The voice came from the doorway, and every head turned. Marcus stood there, his face pale but his stance determined. I followed Elder Mira, heard everything, and I'm not letting you murder the true Alpha, Marcus. Mira's voice turned dangerous. You would betray your pack for a cursed servant? I'm not betraying the pack. I'm protecting it. Marcus moved to stand beside Elara. From elders who think they can kill the rightful heir and call it justice. Then you'll die with her. Mira raised her hand, and power crackled around her fingers. A shame. You had such promise. The door exploded inward for the second time in as many minutes. But this time, the person in the doorway made the elders drop to their knees. Alpha King Dax stood 6.5 feet of controlled violence, with silver-streaked black hair and eyes like molten amber. He was older than Elara expected, maybe 40, with scars that spoke of battles won and a presence that made the very air feel heavy. Did I just hear correctly? His voice was conversational, which somehow made it more terrifying. Did my ears deceive me, or did you just admit to cursing an infant, stealing her throne, and planning to murder her to cover it up? Your Majesty, Mira's face had gone ashen. This is a pack matter. Internal politics. It concerns me the moment you plan to commit murder during my visit to your territory. Dax stepped into the archives, and Elara felt power roll off him in waves. It concerns me when you admit to cursing a royal bloodline. And it especially concerns me. His eyes locked onto Elara, and something flashed across his face. When I can see the royal mark glowing through her clothes, he could see it. Through layers of fabric, he could see her birthmark. She's cursed, Elder Thomas insisted. Dangerous. Her power nearly destroyed the pack when she was born. Her power was uncontrolled because she was a newborn. Dax moved closer to Elara, and she found herself unable to look away from his eyes. Every powerful shifter goes through it. The magic surge at birth. It's normal, natural, and it passes within days once the child learns basic control. His voice turned to ice. But you didn't give her days. You cursed her within hours. Stole her power, her identity, her birthright. We did what was necessary, Mira started. You committed treason. Dax's command filled the room, bringing all 5 elders flat to the floor. Against a royal bloodline. Against pack law. Against the moon goddess herself. He looked at Marcus. You, warrior, take these elders into custody. Chain them with silver. They're to be held for trial. Yes, Your Majesty. Marcus moved immediately, relief clear on his face. Dax turned back to Elara. And you, let me see the mark. Elara's hands shook as she pulled down the shoulder of her dress. The crescent moon birthmark blazed silver, brighter than she'd ever seen it. The mark of the Nightshade royal line. Dax's voice softened. I knew your parents. Trained with your father. He was one of the finest alphas I've ever known. And your mother, he smiled slightly, was terrifying in all the best ways. They would have been proud of you. They're dead because of me. The words came out broken. My birth killed my mother. Your birth was difficult because you're powerful. But your mother died because the elders panicked. Dax gestured to the talisman Mira had dropped. They performed the curse while your mother was still in labor. The magical backlash killed her. Not you. Never you. The archives spun. Elara would have fallen if Dax hadn't caught her. Easy, he said quietly. I know it's a lot, but you need to stay conscious for what comes next. What comes next? We break the curse. Dax picked up the talisman. May I? Elara nodded, not trusting her voice. Dax closed his hand around the wooden box. His eyes flashed gold, and power surged through the room. The box cracked, splintered, shattered into dust that dissolved before it hit the ground. And Elara's world exploded. The curse breaking felt like dying and being born at the same time. Power flooded through her veins, vast and ancient and absolutely hers. Her wolf surged to the surface after 25 years of forced dormancy. She felt her bones reshape, her senses sharpen, her magic unfurl like wings. When the transformation ended, she was standing on 4 legs, and the wolf staring back at her from the polished floor was silver. Pure, shining silver with eyes that glowed like starlight. A silver wolf, Dax's voice held something like reverence. The mark of the Nightshade royal line, the most powerful shifters in the Northern Territories. He smiled. Hello, Princess Elara. Welcome back. Elara shifted back to human form, the change coming naturally now. Marcus threw her his jacket, and she wrapped it around herself with shaking hands. What do I do? She asked. I don't know how to be a princess. I don't know how to lead a pack. I've been a servant my entire life. Then we teach you. Dax's expression was kind but firm. Starting now. Because in about 3 hours, Alpha Cashin is going to realize his elders have been arrested. He's going to demand to know why. And you're going to stand in front of the entire pack and tell them the truth. I can't, you can. And you will. Dax placed a hand on her shoulder. You are Princess Elara of the Nightshade Pack, daughter of Alpha Theron and Luna Mira, true heir to the Nightshade throne. And it's time your pack knew it. The next 3 hours were a blur. Dax's guards secured the elders. Marcus spread word that there would be a mandatory pack gathering, and Elara stood in front of a mirror, staring at a stranger. Her silver wolf had changed her. She stood taller, moved with more confidence. Her eyes glowed with power that couldn't be hidden anymore. She looked like the princess she'd been born to be. She was terrified. You don't have to do this alone. Marcus appeared in the doorway. He'd been promoted to head of Dax's personal guard for his role in protecting her. I'll be right there. The Alpha King will be right there. You're not alone anymore. I've been alone my whole life. It's all I know. Then it's time to learn something new. Marcus smiled. Trust me, you're stronger than you think. The pack gathered in the main courtyard, thousands of wolves murmuring with confusion and worry. Alpha Cashin stood on the raised platform, his expression thunderous. What is the meaning of this? He demanded when Dax appeared. Your guards have arrested my elders, disrupted our celebrations. I demand an explanation. You'll get one. Dax's voice carried across the courtyard. But first, I'd like to introduce you to someone you haven't seen in 25 years. He gestured, and Elara stepped onto the platform. She was wearing borrowed clothes, a simple dress that actually fit, that actually made her look like more than a servant. Her silver birthmark was visible on her shoulder, glowing faintly in the afternoon sun. The pack went silent. Who is this girl? Cashin's voice was carefully controlled. And why is she marked with the royal? He stopped. Went pale. No, that's impossible, is it? Dax moved to stand beside Elara. Let me tell you a story. 25 years ago, a princess was born to this pack, born under a blood moon with tremendous power. Her mother died in childbirth, and the pack was told the princess died as well. Cursed, dangerous, better forgotten, murmurs rippled through the crowd. But the princess didn't die. Dax's voice rose. She was cursed, deliberately, by the very elders sworn to protect her. They bound her power, stole her identity, raised her as a servant so she'd never know who she was, so she'd never claim what was rightfully hers. Lies, Cashin shouted. The princess died. This is some imposter. Then explain the birthmark. Elara's voice came out stronger than she expected. The crescent moon mark that only appears on Nightshade royalty. Explain how I have it. Birthmarks can be faked and silver wolves. Elara let her eyes flash silver, let power crackle around her fingertips. Can those be fake too? Because I have one. The first silver wolf born to this pack in 50 years. The exact same coloring as my father. The exact same power as my mother. The pack was staring now. Really staring. And Elara saw recognition dawning on some of the older faces. People who remembered what her parents looked like. Who remembered their power. The elders confessed. Dax pulled out a recording crystal, standard evidence in pack trials. Admitted to cursing an infant princess. To murder conspiracy. To treason against the royal bloodline. He played it, and the elders' voices filled the courtyard, damning themselves with every word. When it finished, the silence was absolute. The princess lived as a servant in your pack house. Dax's voice was judgment itself. Scrubbing your floors, washing your clothes, being treated as less than nothing. While you, he turned to Cashin, sat on her throne and called yourself Alpha. I didn't know. Cashin's composure was cracking. I swear I didn't know she was alive. The elders told me she died. I thought I was saving the pack from chaos. Did you know about the curse? Elara asked quietly. Cashin opened his mouth, closed it. His silence was answer enough. You knew. The betrayal cut deeper than Elara expected. You knew they'd curse me. Maybe not that I was alive, but you knew they'd used forbidden magic on an infant. And you said nothing. What was I supposed to do? Cashin's voice rose desperately. You were powerful enough to tear the pack apart. The elders said the curse was the only way to steal my throne. Elara's power surged, and the very ground trembled. You wanted to be Alpha, so you let them curse a baby. Let them suppress her power. Let them raise her as nothing. And you called it saving the pack. The pack was muttering now. Angry, disturbed. The older members looked sick. The younger ones looked furious. What happens now? Someone called from the crowd. She's been gone 25 years. Cashin's led us well. Do we just what? Switch alphas? That's exactly what you do. Dax's voice was firm. The curse is broken. Princess Elara's power is restored. She is the rightful alpha of the Nightshade Pack. Pack law is clear. Stolen thrones must be returned to their true owners, but she has no training. Another voice shouted. She's been a servant. She doesn't know how to lead. Then she'll learn. Dax looked at Elara. With help, support, training, everything she was denied for 25 years. But she will learn, and she will lead, because that is her birthright, her destiny, her throne. And if she fails, Cashin's voice was bitter. If she can't handle the power, what then? Elara looked at him. This man who'd sat on her throne, who'd benefited from her curse, who'd lived the life that should have been hers. I won't fail, she said quietly, because I've already survived the worst thing that could happen to me. You and the elders made sure of that. 25 years of being told I was nothing. 25 years of abuse and isolation and shame. Her eyes blazed silver. If I survived that, I can survive anything, including learning to lead the pack you stole from me. The pack howled, not in protest, in approval. The elders will stand trial for treason. Dax's voice was final. Cashin will step down immediately and face investigation into his knowledge of the curse. And Princess Elara will assume her rightful position as Alpha of the Nightshade Pack. He looked at Elara. With my full support as Alpha King, any who challenge her answer to me, it should have felt like a victory, like justice. But all Elara felt was exhausted. The coronation was a week later. Just enough time for Elara to learn the basics: how to command a pack, how to use her alpha voice, how to handle pack business. Dax stayed the entire time, teaching her personally. He was patient, thorough, and surprisingly kind for someone with his reputation. You're doing well, he said the night before the ceremony. They were in the alpha study, her study, now going over territory contracts. Better than most would in your situation. I feel like I'm drowning. That's normal. I felt the same way when I became Alpha King at 20. Dax smiled slightly. The secret is to find people you trust and let them help. You can't do everything alone. I've been alone my whole life. Trusting people doesn't come naturally. Then start small. Trust Marcus. He proved himself when he protected you from the elders. Dax paused. And trust me. I'm not going anywhere until you're ready. Elara looked up at him. Really looked. He was handsome in a rugged, scarred way. Older than her by 15 years at least. Powerful enough to make the air shimmer. And he dropped everything to help her reclaim her throne. Why are you doing this? She asked quietly. You barely know me. Why invest so much time in helping me? Dax was quiet for a long moment. I told you I knew your parents. What I didn't tell you is that I was in love with your mother. Elara's breath caught. Nothing ever happened, Dax continued. She was mated to your father. I would never have interfered, but I cared for her deeply. And when I heard she died, when I heard her daughter had died too, his voice roughened. I mourned. For years, blamed myself for not being there, not being able to protect them. that wasn't your fault, I know. But guilt doesn't care about logic. Dax met her eyes. When I saw you in those archives, when I saw your mother's eyes looking back at me from your face, I knew I had to help. Had to give you the chance your mother never got. The chance to rule, to lead, to be exactly who you were meant to be. I look like her. You have her eyes, her power, her strength. Dax smiled. And I suspect you have her temper too. Your mother once threw a table at an elder who suggested she was too emotional to lead effectively. Despite everything, Elara laughed. The moment hung between them, warm and comfortable. Then Dax's expression shifted, became more serious. There's something else you should know. About the mate bond. Elara's heart kicked. What about it? You're 25. Most shifters find their mate by now. But yours was suppressed along with your wolf. Dax's voice was careful. Now that the curse is broken, your wolf will start searching. You'll feel the pull, the recognition. And when you find them, it will be intense. Have you found yours? No, something flickered across Dax's face. I thought I had, decades ago. But she was mated to someone else. Since then, he shrugged. I've been too busy running a kingdom to look. Elara wanted to ask more, but a knock at the door interrupted them. Marcus entered, looking apologetic. Sorry to disturb, but the seamstress needs Princess Elara for a final fitting of the coronation dress. Of course, Elara stood, trying to ignore the reluctance she felt at leaving Dax. Thank you for everything. Thank me when you're officially Alpha. Dax's smile was soft. And you don't need to keep calling me Alpha King. Dax is fine. Dax, Elara repeated. The name felt right on her tongue. The coronation was everything Elara had never let herself dream of. The entire pack gathered in the ceremonial grounds. She wore traditional royal robes in silver and black, the nightshade colors. The crown her father had worn sat ready on a velvet cushion. The pack elder who'd replaced the arrested council stepped forward. She was young, barely 40, chosen specifically because she'd had nothing to do with the curse. Do you, Elara of the Nightshade bloodline, accept the responsibility of Alpha? Do you swear to protect this pack with your life, to lead with wisdom and strength, to honor the bonds of family and duty? I do. Elara's voice carried across the assembled wolves. Do you accept the burden of truth? To never hide who you are, never diminish your power, never let fear or others make you small. Those words hit different after 25 years of being forced to be small. I do. Then by the power of the moon goddess and the will of your pack, I name you Alpha Elara of the Nightshade Pack. May your reign be long and your judgment true. The elder placed the crown on Elara's head. Power rushed through her, ancient and vast, connecting her to every pack member, every inch of territory, every wolf who'd ever called Nightshade home. She felt her father's presence, her mother's love, and underneath it all, she felt rightness. The pack howled. The sound was deafening, joyful, full of hope. When the ceremony ended, when the celebration began, Dax found her at the edge of the crowd. How does it feel, being Alpha? Like I'm home, Elara smiled. Like everything I went through led to this moment. It did. Dax's expression was proud. You've reclaimed everything they tried to take from you. Your name, your power, your pack, your throne. There's still one thing missing. The words came out before Elara could stop them. What's that? Elara looked up at him, at this Alpha King who'd saved her life and taught her to lead and looked at her like she was precious. My mate. Something flashed in Dax's eyes. Something hot and desperate and quickly controlled. I'm sure you'll find them eventually. What if I already have? Elara's heart was pounding, but she pushed forward. What if the pull I've been feeling all week, the recognition, the certainty, what if it's been right in front of me? Elara, Dax's voice was strained. I feel it, the mate bond. Every time you're near, every time you touch my hand or smile at me or look at me like I matter. She moved closer. Tell me you don't feel it too. I feel it. The admission came out rough. I've felt it since the moment I saw you in those archives. But Elara, I'm 15 years older than you. I was in love with your mother. This is complicated. It's not complicated. Elara took his hand. You loved my mother, but she wasn't your mate. I am. The moon goddess doesn't make mistakes. She gave me to you. Gave you to me. After everything I've lost, everything I've survived, don't you think I deserve to have this? Don't you think we both do? Dax stared at her for a long moment. Then he pulled her close and pressed his forehead to hers. I'm terrified I'll let you down. That I'll be too old to damage too. Stop, Elara cut him off. You saved my life, gave me back my throne, taught me to be alpha. You've already given me everything. Let me give you something back. Let me give you me. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. Dax kissed her. It was gentle and fierce all at once, tasting like moonlight and forever. The mate bond snapped into place fully, completely, irrevocably. Elara felt his soul intertwine with hers, felt his love and loyalty and absolute devotion. When they pulled back, both their eyes were glowing. His amber, hers silver. The pack noticed, started howling approval, started celebrating not just their new alpha, but her mate. Well, Dax said, slightly breathless, I suppose this makes me your Luna? Alpha King Luna, Elara grinned. That's going to confuse people. Let them be confused. I stopped caring what people thought decades ago. He pulled her close again. I love you. I think I started loving you the moment I saw you standing up to those elders despite your terror. I love you too. Even though you're old and bossy and entirely too good at paperwork, I'm not old. I'm experienced. You're 40, prime of life. Dax was smiling now, really smiling. And you're stuck with me. Mate bonds are forever. Good, Elara leaned into his chest. Because forever sounds perfect. They stayed like that while the pack celebrated around them. And Elara, who'd spent 25 years believing she was cursed, broken, unworthy of love, finally understood the truth. She wasn't cursed. She was powerful. She wasn't broken. She was whole. And she was exactly where she was meant to be. The trial of the elders was 3 weeks later. They were found guilty of treason, conspiracy to commit murder, and use of forbidden dark magic. The sentence was exile and stripping of all pack bonds. They would live the rest of their lives as rogues, powerless and alone. Elara watched them leave and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no anger, just a hollow kind of closure. Are you all right? Dax asked quietly. He'd stood beside her throughout the trial, a steady presence. I thought I'd feel different, victorious or vindicated or something, Elara sighed. But I just feel tired. That's normal. Justice doesn't always feel the way we expect it to. Dax took her hand. But it's done. They can't hurt you anymore. Can't hurt anyone anymore. What about Cashin? The investigation into Cashin had revealed he'd known about the curse but not about Elara's survival. He was stripped of his alpha title but allowed to remain in the pack as a regular member. Some thought it was too lenient. Elara thought it was appropriate. He's adjusting. Dax's voice was neutral. Some pack members avoid him. Others are supportive. Time will tell if he can rebuild his reputation. I almost feel sorry for him. Don't. He made his choices. Now he lives with the consequences. Dax pulled her closer. But that's enough about the past. We should talk about the future. What about it? I need to return to the capital soon. My council is getting restless without me. Dax's expression was carefully neutral. Which means we need to decide, do you want to come with me, rule from the capital, or stay here and I'll visit when I can? Elara's stomach dropped. She hadn't thought about this, about what being mated to the Alpha King meant practically. I can't leave my pack, she said slowly. I just got them back. They need me here, need stability and leadership, and I know. Dax kissed her temple. Which is why I've been thinking, what if we split our time? 6 months here, 6 months at the capital. That way you can lead your pack and I can run my kingdom and we're not separated for too long. That could work. Relief flooded through Elara. But won't your council hate that? The Alpha King being absent half the year? My council will deal with it. Dax's smile was sharp. I've given them 30 years of my undivided attention. They can handle sharing me with my mate." His expression softened. "Besides, being here these weeks has reminded me what I've been missing. Pack, family, home. The capital is where I work, but wherever you are, that's where I live." Elara felt tears prick her eyes. "You can't just say things like that. Why not?" "It's true." Dax pulled her into a proper hug. "You're my mate, my love, my home, and I'm never letting you go." "Good, because I'm never letting you go either." They sealed the promise with a kiss that tasted like forever. 6 months later, Elara stood in the Alpha study, their study, as Dax had started calling it, reviewing territory reports. The pack was thriving, trade was up, alliances were strong, and Elara had grown into her role as Alpha with a confidence that surprised even her. "You're frowning." Dax's voice came from the doorway. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. Just," Elara gestured to the reports. "I never expected this to be my life. Leading a pack, being mated to the Alpha King, actually being happy." She smiled. "It still feels surreal sometimes." "Well, it's about to get more surreal." Dax moved to stand behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "Because I have news." "What kind of news?" "The kind that involves a nursery." His hand moved to rest on her stomach. "The pack doctor confirmed it this morning. We're having a pup." The world stopped, where Elara couldn't finish the sentence. "Are you sure?" "Completely sure. Due in about 7 months." Dax's voice was thick with emotion. "Healthy, strong, already showing signs of alpha power." Elara placed her hand over his, feeling the tiny life growing inside her. A child, their child, a pup who would grow up knowing exactly who they were, who would never be cursed, who would be loved beyond measure. "They're going to have the childhood I never had," she whispered. "They're going to have everything." Dax turned her to face him. "Love, family, freedom, power, everything you were denied. They'll have in abundance, and they'll know their history, the truth of what happened. So they never take their power for granted." "Agreed." Dax kissed her softly. "We'll tell them about their grandmother who died protecting her power, about their mother who survived 25 years of a curse and reclaimed her throne, about strength and resilience and never letting anyone make you small." Elara leaned into him, feeling the mate bond hum contentedly between them. I love you too." "So much." Dax held her closer. "Thank you." "For what?" "For being brave enough to trust me, for taking a chance on an old Alpha King with too many scars and too much baggage." He smiled against her hair. "For giving me a reason to believe in happy endings again." "You're not old. You're experienced." "I'm 45 now, still prime of life." Elara grinned. "And you're stuck with me." "Mate bonds are forever. Thank the goddess for that." They stayed like that, wrapped in each other, thinking about the future. About the pup who would unite 2 powerful bloodlines. About the pack that was thriving under new leadership. About the love that had bloomed from ashes and betrayal and pain. Elara had spent 25 years believing she was cursed, believing she was nothing, believing the lies they'd fed her. Now she knew the truth. She wasn't cursed, they'd cursed her. She wasn't nothing, she was everything they'd feared. She wasn't broken, she was exactly who she was meant to be. Alpha, mate, mother-to-be. And for the first time in her life, she was truly, completely, perfectly free. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Where are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. I love hearing your thoughts. And if you'd like to support me, please subscribe. It's free and it helps more people hear these stories.